What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Colby, Covington, and Shavkat Rakhmonov go back and forth. Even though Kamaru Usman and Colby Covington have both shown an interest publicly in throwing down with Shavkat Rakhmonov in December at UFC 310, so far the Nomad still does not have an opponent. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video to help support the channel. With UFC 310 now less than a month away, Rakhmonov called out both fighters on social media on Monday, tagging them in a post where he said that all he's hearing are empty callouts. All I hear are empty callouts, no real intention, no action, just posturing for the media and fans. Covington heard the message loud and clear and responded with a video that same day, telling Rakhmonov's manager, Daniel Rubenstein, to translate his message to Rakhmonov.
Someone just showed me Rubenstein's tweet for that big dummy rat. Listen up, Junior. Translate this to whatever caveman dialect you need to and get it through that big empty skull attached to that Gumby body. I don't posture and I don't bluff. As soon as I get off this beautiful 5-star Trump golf course located in the heart of MAGA country, West Palm Beach, Florida, I'm calling Hunter and Dana and we can all see who's posturing for clicks, bozo.
The Nomad then fired back on Instagram, writing, "Let's go, I'm ready. Your talking will not help you in the octagon." Even though Covington is coming off a loss to Leon Edwards over the summer, and his most recent win was against Jorge Masvidal 2.5 years ago, if the UFC wants to keep Rakhmonov on the card and a fight with Kamaru Usman doesn't work out, he might wind up in another title fight. Earlier today, the UFC revealed that they will be going back to London on March 22nd. With the news dropping, Renato Moicano called out Paddy Pimblett to fight on UFC London. He went on Twitter and said, "UFC London main event? Moicano versus Pimblett? What do you guys think? Do you guys want to see Moicano versus Paddy as the main event for UFC London? Let us know down in the comment section below." Michael Chandler reveals the truth on UFC rumors. Last week, there were rumors spreading around the UFC community that the Charles Oliveira-Michael Chandler fight at UFC 309 was in jeopardy. Fighters like Renato Moicano and Dustin Poirier even took to social media offering to step in and fight on short notice. However, nothing wound up coming of the rumors, and with Fight Week already underway, all systems are a-go for the co-main event rematch between Chandler and Oliveira. On Monday's episode of the Ariel Helwani Show, Chandler shared his side of the story. "I mean, I got a theory. Obviously, I went through almost 2 years of a year and a half of a layoff. 10 weeks of training for Conor, 13 days before the fight gets canceled. You know, so maybe there was some internal gamesmanship going on there. Hey, let's leak this thing that maybe the fight's off again. Let's get Chandler freaked out. But I've been so aloof to everything aside from going to the gym and training and writing in my journal every single day and watching film and being built up that I didn't even call my manager at all. I didn't even send it to them. Didn't even say, hey, can we look into this? Should we call Hunter? Should we figure out what's going on?" It did not affect me whatsoever. Chandler also discussed his upcoming rematch with Charles Oliveira on Saturday, doubling down on the hot take that Oliveira has some quit in him when the going gets tough. The way he sees things, if he fights a more patient fight, Oliveira will start to doubt himself at some point. I'm not calling him a quitter, but I do know I didn't put myself in a position to fight him for long enough to put pressure on him for long enough to instill second guessing and doubts into his mind and his spirit for long enough for that exit sign to be found. This time, I think I will. Chandler also discussed his fight with Conor McGregor that fell through, saying that he still thinks the fight needs to happen, and that he believes it will happen. I think Chandler versus McGregor needs to happen at some point, and I do believe it will happen at some point. And if he comes back, his road back to the UFC goes through one man. It goes through Nashville, Tennessee, and we have to finish Tough 31, so I'll take care of business on Saturday night and see what's next. Since McGregor pulled out of their UFC 303 fight over the summer with a toe injury, there's been no word on when he might return to action. Jon Jones would vacate heavyweight title to fight Alex Pereira. Even though Jon Jones has teased a potential fight with Alex Pereira if he decides to stick around after his fight with Stipe Miocic this weekend, it sounds like Jones does not plan on holding the heavyweight title hostage while pursuing a fight with Pereira. During an interview with TSN's Aaron Bronstetter this week, Jones revealed that if he beats Stipe and still feels like fighting instead of riding off into the sunset, he'd be willing to vacate the heavyweight title to fight for the BMF title, which he called the Banff belt during the interview. "It'd be cool to fight over the heavyweight championship, but I would also willingly give up the heavyweight championship. I walked away from the light heavyweight championship, and I'd love to walk away from this one as well. On top, on his own terms, good head on his shoulder, making lots of money. I love the position that I'm in right now. Fighting Pereira for the Banff belt, that'd be cool. We both have 2 belts in 2 weight classes. The night we fought, we'd both be fighting for our 3rd belt, which would be the Banff. How cool would that be?" Even though the MMA world would not get a chance to see Jones and Aspinall throw it down, one of the biggest complaints surrounding the Jones-Miocic fight is that it keeps the interim champion waiting in limbo and holds up the division. If Jones vacates the heavyweight title, the MMA world might get on board with a potential Jones-Pereira fight for the BMF belt. Here's what the MMA community had to say. The last fighter who dropped the strap because they were terrified to fight someone was Jermaine Durandamy. Tom Aspinall is John's Chris Cyborg. Why did he even go up to heavyweight if he wants to fight at light heavyweight rather than the #1 contender? Bro's willing to ditch his undisputed championship belt to duck Aspinall, LMFAO. Jon Jones, I'm all for challenging myself, but only if the challenge involves strikers who can't defend a takedown. BMF belt for ducking? Nate Diaz is rolling in his grave. Wins an extremely easy matchup to get the heavyweight title, won defense, and ready to vacate. What an effing joke. This is just embarrassing at this point. He's willing to hand his title over to Aspinall. From the sounds of things, Magomed Ankalaev plans to spoil Jones's plans for a fight with Pereira. Jones doesn't want to fight Aspinall. Pereira is recovering and I'm hungry. I will beat Pereira, and after that, I can beat Jones. Of course, Dana White has already said that he's expecting the winner of this weekend's fight to stick around for a fight with Tom Aspinall. So we'll just have to see how things play out come Saturday night. Bo Nickal reveals path for UFC title shot. Bo Nickal's UFC 309 fight with Paul Craig might be the toughest test of his professional career, given that Craig has been ranked in the past. However, Nickal is still planning to take things slow as he works his way towards a title shot. On Monday's episode of the Ariel Helwani show, Nickal, who has been pretty open about the fact that he only started MMA just a few years ago, outlined his path to the title. I felt the rocket's been strapped to me since after my first pro fight. That was maybe like 2.5 years ago, something like that. And so I feel like the rocket's been strapped to me for a while. But you know, if you look at anybody else's career, they're fighting over a decade before they're in that position. I mean, I'm basically there. You know, I win 1 or 2 more fights and I'm fighting a ranked guy, and then I'm fighting a top 5, and then I'm fighting for the belt. So if I have 6 fights right now, I'm already past the halfway point if that's the trajectory. If Nickal winds up beating Craig this weekend in New York City and still wants another unranked opponent before taking the next step of his career, former one champ Rainier de Reeder, who beat Gerald Meerschaft this past weekend, has already thrown his name in the hat and said that he would be down to fight the NCAA legend. Ahead of this weekend's fight, Nickal is a massive betting favorite on US sportsbooks. Currently, he's a -1,000 favorite on FanDuel and DraftKings, making it clear that the MMA world is feeling pretty confident about his chances with Fight Week underway. Stipe Miocic apologizes to Jon Jones for comments. Up until this week, Stipe Miocic and Jon Jones had been keeping things pretty respectful ahead of their fight. But all that changed when Jon Jones saw that Stipe Miocic called him a B during the UFC 309 countdown show. Jones posted a video of himself watching the countdown show on his Instagram story. In it, he said,
"See the disrespect, you calling me a Stipe. The disrespect didn't have to happen. You're gonna wish you didn't say that."
Jones then followed it up with a written post on social media where he called out Stipe for the comment. "Hiring black fighters to mimic me will not help you, Stipe, and you shouldn't have called me a B. The disrespect was not necessary. Let's play." On Monday's episode of the Ariel Helwani show, Miocic explained his side and apologized for the comment. "Yeah, he was just talking to me. I was talking to him. Bring it on. I don't know if I hurt his feelings. I was just fired up, you know. I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to disrespect him in any way. I was just in the moment, the heat of the moment." When he was specifically asked about Jones alleging that he was hiring fighters of the same skin color to try and mimic him, Miocic responded by explaining that he was simply bringing in training partners to help him prepare, and skin color had nothing to do with it. I don't know. Isn't that what you're supposed to do when you fight someone? You get someone to try and mimic them? I don't know. Whatever. It is what it is. I'm not going to worry about it. With the fight just days away, Jones got in some last-minute training with his team. And then on the flip side, Miocic told Helwani that he worked a full shift at the fire department 2 weeks ago, and every shift he takes is a full 24 hours. They're all 24. We do go to bed because you have to go to bed, but you get calls in the night. You get calls in the middle of the night. That's part of the job. Considering Miocic kept up with his shifts at the firehouse even when he was the champion, it sounds like he isn't too worried about his most recent shift 2 weeks ago impacting him come fight night. Jorge Masvidal versus Leon Edwards next? Jorge Masvidal is dead set on returning to the UFC, even though Dana White said that the UFC probably wouldn't be bringing him and Tyron Woodley back following their recent stints in boxing, considering both fighters were on pretty big losing streaks before they parted ways with the UFC. In the case of Masvidal, after saying that he's looking to get back in title contention when he returns to action, Masvidal has now name-dropped Leon Edwards as a potential opponent for next year, given the duo's beef going all the way back to the backstage scuffle after Masvidal fought Till in London way back in 2019. During an interview with Give Me Sport, he called out the former champ, saying that Rocky is scared of him. "We'll be coming into the UFC next year. I think it would be Leon. Let's roll the dice for the #1 guy in the world. I'll find out if I am who I say I am. I want to fight the world's best. I always have. I've been out the game a little bit. Let's see what's possible. We're betting 100% on me. Leon is scared of me, man. He's never wanted this. Here I am calling out his name. You ain't gotta fight. I ain't gotta fight. What's up, mother?" No word yet on whether Dana White has changed his stance on bringing Gamebred back for another stint with the promotion, after he signed with Ali Abdelaziz's Dominance MMA. But with Leon Edwards looking to get back into title contention, he might not be interested in fighting down in the rankings despite his past beef with the original BMF. The last time we saw Masvidal compete in MMA, he picked up his 4th straight loss in front of his fans in Miami. Bo Nickal impressed with Khamzat Chimaev's win. Even though Khamzat Chimaev was the betting favorite heading into his fight with Robert Whittaker late last month, not many fans were predicting that he'd submit Whittaker in the first round, considering that Whittaker had gone 10 rounds with a former Olympian in Yoel Romero several years ago. During a virtual appearance on the Ariel Helwani show ahead of his fight with Paul Craig this weekend, Bo Nickal sounded off on Chimaev's first round finish, giving him props for getting the job done, while explaining that even though fans were expecting a tough fight for Chimaev, he'd been telling people that he was expecting Boris to get the dub. I did watch it, and I think it was super impressive. To be honest, it's funny because a lot of people expected that to be a tough fight for him, and you can ask around all the people that I talked to. I kind of thought he would do that to Whittaker. It's one thing to think that, or to kind of see that happening, but he actually did it, which is super impressive. You know, Whittaker's not an easy fight for anybody, and he made it look easy, so I was really impressed with his last performance, and it seemed like he kind of took a different mentality into the fight as well, which was cool to see, but that's a fight I'm looking forward to. I think obviously, he's quite a bit ahead of me right now, but he'll be fighting for the belt soon, and then I'll catch up quick. Ariel Helwani and the MMA community might want to see Chimaev and Nickal throw down inside the octagon, with Helwani even calling it his dream fight at 185 right now. But it sounds like we'll have to wait a while before there's a chance of that fight happening. While Chimaev is waiting for the DDP vs Strickland fight to happen sometime early next year so he can get his crack at the belt, Nickal's still working his way toward his first ranked opponent. Conor McGregor's court trial today ended because of leaked court information. According to the judge, he says it would appear a link was left open allowing legal practitioners to see proceedings. As a result, he says someone took a screenshot of the proceedings on Wednesday, says he takes a very dim view of it, calls it clear contempt of court. Court abruptly ended for the day after this and will resume tomorrow with the conclusion of the trial.